All right, here we go. Overdrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 4. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, and Gord Miller in here. There's three guys rocking golf shirts. I love it. Everyone's comfortable.
Yesterday, he shows up like in his navy blue suit, like he's all gussied up. I'm like, dude, like.
I had to do Sports Center yesterday. It wasn't I have to do it. It was something I was happy
enjoy doing.
I enjoyed doing it. It was great. I saw my man Jermaine Franklin was over there. Jermaine was on with you guys last week on Overdrive. He said he had a blast. You guys were awesome. I caught a bit of that. And so I was in a suit. Like sometimes, like Noodles would come in, do TV, and get out of his suit into the grubbiest clothes you've ever seen. And I've always wondered that. I'm like, why not just rock the suit? You look good, man. You got the suit on for a purpose.
Let me tell you something.
I kept the suit on yesterday.
Let me tell you something on Noodles. That he, after a game, if we're flying after a game, can get out of, I think he has tearaway suits that just like, he can get out of a suit faster. No, actually, there's one guy, Dwayne Ford, our CFL analyst.
Mm-hmm.
He can get into his tracksuito faster than anyone you've ever seen.
Immediately.
Like we go to an airport and he's into the men's room and out and he's changed. Like his
Noodles is built for comfort.
Yeah, he is not.
He loves comfort.
Yeah, he is.
He's all about comfort.
Drawstring. Anything with a drawstring is good with him.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm happy you did. He loves that drawstring.
It's his favorite thing. That when he bought that suit, I've told that story before. He came in and gave O and I the full breakdown of the mechanics of the suit.
Oh yeah.
Doing stretches and jumping jacks, and he's like,
"Who does that in a suit?"
And he's breaking down the whole dynamics of the suit. And I'm like, "It's a great suit, man.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful suit. It's a great suit." He's so proud of that suit.
Yeah.
He's the third child. He loves that suit.
I always say to him though, I don't think suit pants have a drawstring.
They do for him.
They do for him.
They do for him.
I think there's a TSN turning point in Noodles' life where he pivoted to these kinds of suits. Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, years back, he told the dry cleaning story.
Right.
Where he brought all those suits in and they turned into like really small, couldn't get them on. And now he's, comfort suit guy.
He has cracked the case of the really bad job when it comes to getting the dry cleaning done. He's avoided the dry cleaning altogether. It's actually brilliant.
Now, Mark Masters and I are trying to perfect the pajama suit.
What is that?
You roll out of bed and you're in your suit.
Well, Masters permanently is in a suit. I've never seen him in anything but a suit.
He puts in long days at the rink, right? So on a Leaf game day, he comes down to the morning skate early, watches the guys skate, or the guys are on early, watches the morning skate, goes to the press conference, and has to file his Sports Center story. Then he grabs some lunch or whatever. He comes back to get ready for the live hits and the broadcast that night. He's in a suit for like 16 hours.
But he doesn't even undo his tie.
No.
Like I'm saying, as you guys have all seen, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. He has his tie like a beautifully tied knot, and it is choking him out for 16 hours. And he will not loosen it. He will not let a button go, nothing. He is fully committed to looking dapper all the time. I got a lot of time for that. Yeah. I would never do it. I'm somewhere in between Noodles and Masters, which I think is an appropriate kind of normal level of going about your business.
Yeah. MJ and I show up for morning skates, and MJ takes comfort to an extreme as well.
What are we talking? Sweats for morning skate?
Not quite sweats, but now expensive T-shirts. Like MJ does not have cheap T-shirts,
so he's presentable
in a more fashion forward way.
Right now, he's an alumni down there, so
he's a former.
He probably feels very comfortable around the rink.
Did you know, by the way, he wore number 20 for the Leafs? But number 20 is the number that's been worn by more players than any other in NHL history.
I wore number 20 as well.
All of the teams.
Yeah,
I wore 20 as well.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Now, one of the reasons it hasn't been retired by many teams.
Yeah, and it's not really an everyday permanent number.
Nine's hard. Like nine,
really.
Nine's retired almost every.
Any of the low numbers, 1 through 9, the goalie number. But MJ, a lot of 14s, 16s.
The 20 for the Leafs, it's like there's MJ, Belfour wore it for a bit.
Eddie.
And then there's been like a slew of like tweener guys that wore it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like it's a lot of you're up for 4 games, you wear number 20.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're calling you up, we got 8 games left, end of the season. You don't have a number. It's not going to be your number if you become an everyday player. You take number 20.
And then the Leafs retired. Right? And then the Leafs retired all those numbers. Right? Shanahan
got here after his first full year.
All those numbers that were honored became retired. Because think of all the guys that wore 14. And one of the things that bugged Dave Keon was a lot of, Jonas Hoagland's,
Matt Stajan wore number 14.
He didn't.
Those are good players.
Yeah.
Like not Dave Keon's,
Right.
but they're good players.
Yeah. And so it got to be a thing where, some of the great numbers were being worn by
just guys.
Like, right.
You're obviously a good player when you play in the NHL, but
yeah. I mean, the difficulty of like the number thing is different for every fan base, every player. I'm sure there are guys like Keon that really care, and I'm sure there's other players that don't really care or, don't have as much of a connection or are kind of honored by the idea that other players might wear it.
I kind of like what the Leafs did, actually. I
honoring or eventually retiring?
Because I thought the way to do it was to honor it and to keep it not worn as long as the player was alive. And then you could give it out.
Is that how they operated, though? I don't think they operated that way. They didn't.
With some players and not others. Like
Van Riemsdyk was 21, Salming was alive.
No one gave 17 out, but they never gave 17 out.
Right. Now, that was more because you had to have the common sense not to ask for it. Like, why would you ever ask for 17 when Wendell is still Wendell? Not that Salming was any less of a great Leaf, but Wendell was just more modern. Like, Wendell... Who's going to ask for that in 2003 when Wendell just retired?
But
like
the
2
Leafs
years
came out
before
27,
that.
right? After Sittler left. Guys wore 27.
Yeah, there would have been guys that wore 27.
Corson would have worn 27.
I think Corson did wear 27 with the Leafs.
It also comes down to, like, maybe there weren't guys getting traded to Toronto. Like, think about if Ryan Kessler ever got traded to Toronto when, the numbers were just honored and not retired. That guy wears number 17. Mm-hmm. Would he have been, I don't know, would that have been a conversation? Like, these are all hypotheticals now, but...
It's a good question. And I remember when they made the announcement, because remember weeks before they announced that JVR was changing his number. I believe they made that announcement. Maybe they made it day
didn't.
Off. Maybe they made it day off.
I remember distinctly because I was there.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what was happening. And a few of us, like the Healthy Scratch guys, walked in and they're showing the opening ceremony. And then we see Van Riemsdyk 25. And we looked at each other like, what the hell is going on?
Okay, so they didn't
announce. It was such a surprise. They kept it under wraps the whole time.
Yeah, I guess, you're right, because it was a surprise to even the ticket holders before they arrived. All they said was, show up an hour before, please. We have something planned. And they didn't announce exactly what it was.
So that makes it harder. With all those numbers retired now.
Yeah.
Like when Lamoriello goes to a team, now he could do it in Jersey and the island. He couldn't do it here. He doesn't like numbers over 40.
Well aware of that.
Yeah, no numbers over 40. Now, he grandfathers it. Guys that were there before. But, for example, when Bo Horvat signed, right, Horvat wore 51 as a tribute to a junior teammate who was killed in an accident. And so he went to the island and agreed to switch to 14, 5 minus 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still his way of honoring that. But Lou, and no facial hair, no
right, which is still a thing for Lou.
I would love to have been, just to fantasize about being Connor McDavid, and Lou's team has the first pick. So you know what, Lou? I have a beard. I wear jewelry.
Right.
And I wear 97.
But he wouldn't even be that guy.
Maybe I'm not the guy for you.
No, Connor would never be that guy. I think he's such a team-oriented guy, like whatever it takes to win. I don't think he would ever make it about him and kind of what his agenda
But I would just love to be that guy.
Well, how quickly did Matthews grow a stash after Lou left? Like, was it within hours?
Yeah, but did Matthews have a stash playing for the Zurich Lions? Like, I don't think so.
No, but he was so young. I don't think he could even grow one.
Right.
Like, it took, like, even the stash he has now, he's got it. It's committed. And, he's had it for a couple of years, and I don't think it's going anywhere. But he definitely didn't have it when Lou was here.
It's just
like, I think it was almost immediate. Like, Lou left, and he's like, I'm going to give this a shot. I don't know if I can pull it off.
It's an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Thank you.
It's no one's fault.
That's yours. There you go. That's your move. Yeah. But, like, when you're a young man and you're not sure if you can even grow a beard yet or whatever, you're like, I'll give it a shot. I can't guarantee what's going to happen.
I feel like the Matthews mustache was like, yeah, I got this thing, and then he scored a few goals, and then it turned into, I'm hot right now. I'm not getting rid of this thing, and then next thing you know, he never stopped scoring.
Now it's his look.
Remember when Lou was in New Jersey, the owners of the Devils, the Nets, and the Yankees put together a thing called Yankee Nets. They ran all three teams, and Lou was the president of Yankee Nets. So Lou's rules applied to all three teams. Now, the Yankees have always had...
They had that anyway, I think.
But he put them in for the Nets. So Derek Coleman was playing for the Nets, a famously difficult figure. So the rule was jacket and tie on the team flight. So he gets on the first charter of the year in his tuxedo, and hands Butch Beard, the coach, a blank check and says, just fill this out at the end of the year. I'm wearing this.
Fine me every single time.
I'm wearing this, man.
I love those moves. Just put me down for a fine. I'm not doing it.
But the funny thing is, hockey is so, like the Yankees still have that, but like, I think hockey is the only sport left where players wear suits to the rink. And we're the only ones who see them.
It's going a little bit now. Now guys are like tie optional. But I kind of I liked getting dressed up for the game.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily appreciate having to do a million wardrobe changes throughout the course of a day. You know, it's
On
like
the road?
Yeah, it's like get up, you got to go to morning skate, so you got to put the suit on, no tie. Then you got to get out of it, you got to put your hockey stuff on. Then you put your equipment on. And it's like you're doing more wardrobe changes than like a Broadway show. And then at the end of the night, the tie comes on, no one sees you walk in. The worst is when you're playing in the minors and it's a Tuesday night in December and you're in Binghamton and the arena guy is the only person that can see you walk in with a suit. It's like, what the hell are we doing?
Why am I wearing
Well,
this?
Why are we doing this?
And the thing that kills me is making kids do it. Like seriously,
Yeah.
making 11-year-olds wear a suit to a game.
I think
just
they like
strikes me
the
as-
novelty of it sometimes.
That's
They
exactly
want to
what
look
it
like
is.
NHL guys.
They want to
That's
look like the show.
I think you'd be surprised how many kids enjoy doing that.
I can tell you, I know a lot of parents who hate it because your kids grow out of their suits all the time.
Well, that's
And
true too.
Buying
That
a
is-
suit for a kid who might wear it twice a year.
Right. No, I don't think they're asking you to go down, to
You don't
the
got to
most
see Johnny and
expensive tailor.
Ancaster. to
Yeah,
get-
No,
exactly.
But it just seems like funny. Like it's so, because hockey is so sort of, go along to get along, right? That's kind of the culture of it.
Mhm.
Don't speak out, don't make waves, don't rock the boat. That's just kind of the way it is. But the other sports, I mean, look what NBA guys are wearing to the.
Yeah, but that
Yeah,
looks a little goofy.
But do you know how
I
much
think, some
money
of that stuff?
But also, do you know how much they're spending on that? Like, yes, it's not a suit and tie, but they'll have like a Gucci tracksuit that's worth $15,000.
And then watches, like, so I saw an account.
So they're putting time and effort in. They're putting more. Like that's another thing you hear, and Frankie, you could probably attest to this. You hear this also just about like a lot of adults in everyday life. They're like, I actually appreciate the suit because I don't have to think about it. I just put the suit on and I go to work. It's not like I got to be like, oh, what shoes am I going to wear? And do these pants go together? It's give me the suit, let me throw it on, and I'm gone. And I'm not putting any thought into it. And you see that all the time with players who are like, I bring one suit on the road and I wear the exact same suit.
And especially if you're playing well, that one suit, that one shirt, that one tie, and you're very careful with everything you
and you
eat.
do
Throw it
up
on the chair.
And you do it up like a junior player, so the tie's never undone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the play. You just untuck it over the head, put it up on a hook, and you're gone.
Although now,
it's actually
like,
great.
every team on a game day has to have the pictures of the guys walking into the arena with the suits now. It's like,
But
I don't remember.
Social media
Yeah,
guys.
I don't remember
I know.
that. It was like, I walked from the parking garage. I maybe saw the security guard, and I walked into the dressing room. Now it's like, we got to have 3 photographers from your car to the dressing room.
Well, and the guy who made it pop the most was Cherry. Like when Don Cherry would show it on hockey night, it was the coolest thing in the world. Like as a kid, he would highlight, look at these guys, look how good they look. They're in unbelievable suits, walking in the rink. During the playoffs, they'd have beards. You're like, I got to be that guy. Like that's the coolest thing ever. And Cherry knew exactly what he was doing. And that was really the only time. You're right. Like back in the day, there was no social media. There was no team site that was posting something.
Right,
the Leafs walk in '93. Like I remember watching pictures of them get off the bus. I'm like, there's Wendell, there's Dougie, there's Pat Burns looks like $1 million, and it was all Cherry that had it in CBC.
And so now in the new arenas, you don't see them. Like at the Gardens, you would see the players walk in. Right? You would at the Gardens, you could see the players walking to the dressing room and walking out at night. If you waited long enough, you could see them. Now you don't. I mean, they park at Scotiabank. They park underneath. They come up a private entrance.
Right.
Unless that team photographer's there, no member of the public would ever see them.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. Now, I like wearing a suit to the rink. Like I like.
Makes it feel like, okay, it's a big production. It's go time.
Yeah, like I like wearing a nice suit to the rink. I got no problem. I don't wear suits on planes anymore.
That seems
No, you don't
excessive.
need to do
That used to be a
that.
rule at this network.
You had to
Like-
wear a suit on the plane
So on an off day traveling, you had to wear a suit?
It was
because you're representing TSN.
You had to wear it was, put it this way, it was strongly discouraged to not wear a suit.
Really?
Who would be enforcing that? Like, would there be a direct line to
Yeah.
HQ here?
What's
like,
the fine?
I caught Gordon
there was-
Miller
well,
not wearing a suit
but don't forget-
at Pearson
Someone
Airport.
calls it in.
F-84.
A
Don't
rules
forget-
infraction like
Don't
on the
forget when I
PGA Tour.
No, when I started here, we had the Ted Baxter Blazers, right, with the TSN logo on it, with the light bulb logo, which I
Yeah.
loved. The TSN scoreboard logo was a great logo. But we had the black jacket with the TSN logo on it. They gave you 4 shirts and 4 ties, and you could not deviate. Gordon.
So you had to wear that on the plane.
No,
it's like military.
You didn't wear your
garb.
TSN jacket, but you had to wear like a blazer. You know, like a.
It just seems
Meanwhile,
uncomfortable.
you could probably drink on the air, and they're like, "Oh, that's totally fine."
totally. So
Yeah, don't worry about that. Just make sure you got that suit on when you're
Let
in
me
the
just
airport.
finish this scotch. MJ, what do you think of that breakout?
So the funny thing was,
Great suit, though.
So we finally pushed. So Gordon Craig was the founder of TSN. Mr. Craig was a great man, still is a great guy, but he was very conservative. He's going to hate me for saying this, but
Okay.
he was very conservative.
Yeah.
And so he was very much in favor because he was a CBC guy. So right, I worked at CBC. We had the orange blazer with the company tie and the whole bit, right? And the hockey night, baby blue with the tie.
We need an overdrive suit now.
We do.
Doogie, get on that.
With the drawstring. With the drawstring.
With the drawstring.
So
We
now,
need that.
So now we finally pushed Mr. Craig, who I still call Mr. Craig, to let us wear our own ties with the TSN blazer, which was a major thing. To be able to wear. So one of our first games, Paul Romanek turns up with a Beatles themed tie on. I'm like, no, Romy,
You can't
no,
do
no,
that, man.
don't, Romy, don't.
You're killing us
Don't
here.
do. We're all going to be back to these
Right.
sheet metal ties we're wearing.
Right.
Like.
Well, that was allegedly the story with the Leafs. Remember a few years ago, they decided to relax the dress code
Yes.
on the road. They had a horrible start.
Yeah.
And the reports are that either Sheldon Keefe or Dubas or Shanahan, someone went to them about 5 games in and said, absolutely not anymore. You guys are so bad. Go get, we're in Chicago. I don't care what you got to do. Go out there and you better have a suit for the game tonight. And I'm pretty sure they were all wearing suits the rest of the way, which again speaks to the idea that that's the reason they were playing
Right.
poorly.
Had nothing to do with it.
Was that they had jeans on instead of a suit.
the mental
whole
thing.
look
But it's
good,
the mentality
whole
of it
look
that we're
good-
too relaxed
The
here.
look good, play good thing, which is
Yeah.
A horrible grammar, but B, nothing to do with it.
Generally, it doesn't.
Like nothing to do with it.
But there is
lots of-
something about the uniformity of it all. I don't know. I mean,
I think it comes from this. It's like, we're going to play a game. This is business.
Right.
We look like we're all business. Mentally, we got the suit on. It does something to you where if you just show up in the same underwear and tracksuit that you've been wearing the last couple of days, it's like you feel groggy.
are you really prepared?
You know,
Really?
you
look
it
asleep.
changes. Your mindset changes a little bit. By
Have
the
you seen
way,
how baseball players arrive at the ballpark?
they're
Oh,
there
yeah.
all day, which is crazy. They're there way too
They're there all the
way
time.
too
But
long.
T-shirts and jeans, that's
Yeah.
dressing up.
By the way, did you call them rules from Lou Lamoriello? Like
Lose rules, yeah.
they're not rules. I was told from Lou, they're not rules, they're expectations.
Expectation.
And he walked away very slowly.
Not rules, expectations.
Frankie, they're not rules, they're expectations.
I love that. Walks backwards into the dark.
It's an unfortunate
Like,
set of
where's this guy going,
circumstances.
man?
It's no one's fault.
Scott Gomez turned up. The Devils won the Cup in 2003. He was a rookie in that team. He won the Stanley Cup. And he shows up with, because Lou had the no jewelry expectation. Giant gold chain for the photo day at the start of training camp. And Lou's like, take the chain off.
Yeah.
And Gomez like, look, Lou, it's soldered on. It doesn't clip. Get the bolt cutters.
Get him off.
He,
Can't have it.
Leo Komarov had to
Expectations.
get rid of the white skates. Like, no white skates on this team. That's an expectation.
Not a rule.
See, Hayes has expectations.
I have high
We
expectations.
never meet.
We
We
never meet.
never
them.
meet.
We're
And
18
believe me, I'm the
minutes,
first
19
one.
minutes in, and we have not hit one expectation.
Talking suits,
what
man.
if kids
It's
wore
all
a
good.
what if kids wore a matching tracksuit to the game?
Sure, that happens generally on the road.
What if
like you go on a
12-year-olds can wear a
tournament.
tracksuit to the game?
Whatever. It's tradition, Gord. All right, Kia Nurse is coming up. Kia is obviously our women are over there. Our men are over there. They're all prepared for the summer games that begin Friday in Paris. And the women played today. They got a win. They got another tune-up game tomorrow in Spain. We're going to catch up with Kia, get her take on how the team's coming together, her preparations for the Village, for Paris, for the games. We're looking forward to this. So we got Kia Nurse today. We got Ryan O'Reilly coming up today. Dean Evison, the new head coach down in Columbus. And confirm and deny later this afternoon. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Gordon Miller. Got Mark Feinsand of MLB Network coming up just after 5 o'clock. Jays, Rays tonight. Beautiful night for a ball game. Beautiful night for a ball game. Rays are a 500 club. They'll finish above 500. They do every year. They're not competitive this year. They're not going to go to the playoffs. which is a rarity for them. Generally, they're basically a lock every single year.
They've been amazing, huh? For a long
The
time.
way they operate is incredible.
What's their stadium situation?
They're investing in a new stadium. That came out like a couple of weeks ago. I believe it's going to happen. I don't know exactly when the shovels are going to get into the grounds, but yeah, I believe that they've pushed off Montreal. And remember, someone threw out the idea of them spending half the year in Montreal and half the year in Tampa. No chance that was ever going to happen. Never was going to happen. All right, the Paris Games rapidly approaching, almost go time over there. The opening ceremonies on Friday. We will find out our flag bearer tomorrow. We're very intrigued by that. LeBron James going to be carrying the flag for the Americans, or one of them, I guess, on Friday for the U.S. But the women's team on the basketball side, they played today. They got past Australia. They play Spain tomorrow in Spain. A couple of tune-up games before they get to Paris for Friday. And let's head overseas and catch up with our good friend. Here's Kia Nurse. How you doing, Kia?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing very well. How's the team looking here? You guys got a win today. How are we feeling about things moving into the games on Friday?
Yeah, it's good. Honestly, we've had a couple of tune-up games here in Spain, a couple close scrimmages against Puerto Rico a few days ago, and then this was kind of our first kind of go at it in Australia as a rival for us in the opening prelim round. So it's great to kind of get one under our belt and be able to kind of see what they're getting up to, and then heading into Spain tomorrow. So it's just nice to be back with the team. We finally have our full team back together after everyone has kind of stopped and paused their WNBA season. So it's been nice to see the girls.
Yeah, and this is your third Olympic Games. So you're a veteran of this now. How do you prepare, or how are you preparing for these games, maybe compared to the past couple?
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics is one of those things where it's, a dream come true, and the ability to play at this level is just something that's really hard to put into words, and to wear Canada across my chest is something I'm really proud of. But it's also kind of like a big distraction at the same time, right? There's so much going on. There's so many different sports, different athletes, and everybody has their own routines. And for me, I'm a very routine-based and habitual athlete, so I have a very strict kind of pregame routine. And sometimes when you're in a village situation, it's difficult to get into that. So just coming in and understanding what to expect. We're actually playing in Lille, so we'll be outside the Paris village in a satellite village, so it'll be a little bit more calm. But to be able to get my routines down, to kind of understand the pressure that comes along with it, probably turn off social media for a couple of days, but it'll be good.
Kia, you've had the Olympic experience in both ways, in Rio in 2016, which was crazy town, and then, of course, the postponed 2020 Olympics that were held in 2021, where there were no spectators. How much are you looking forward to being back in the Olympic experience with spectators, the buzz, and even if you're trying to block it out a little bit, but just that true Olympic experience?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think, Tokyo, they had everything set up and ready to go. And I felt bad that they as a country weren't able to kind of have those fans in that base. And it was tough to play in that environment. And, at the same time, it's really amazing sometimes to be able to look into the fans and those stands and see your family members there and think like, they put in so much time and effort and sacrifice and, financials to help us get to where we are today. So this is kind of like my biggest way of saying thank you and, look what you've done. And I'm very grateful to my parents for doing that. So I'm excited to have, fans in the stands. My parents will be here. My brother and his family will be here. And this is the first time they've come to an Olympics. So it'll be really exciting to be able to share that experience with them as well.
Anytime you enter a tournament where, your team needs to gel really quickly, there's not a lot of time and everyone needs to come together. You've obviously been very experienced in these types of things. Is there anything you kind of lean on here to get the group gelling and feeling good and kind of cohesive prior to this tournament, the lead up?
Yeah, I think I lost you for a little bit there, but one of the things.
We're having issues here, even in Paris. Sometimes you have
WNBA.
problems.
Yeah, Wi-Fi issues.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi issues. Can you hear us?
Wi-Fi
We
for
got you.
sure.
We got you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One of the is keeping in touch for most of the year through WhatsApp and conversing with one another. And a lot of us have played together for a number of different years and across different tournaments and different Olympic games. So there is some familiarity. We've got some young guns on our team this year that I'm really excited for everyone to see on this big stage because they're really, really fantastic and very talented. So a lot of it is on the court and practice, taking advantage of the time that we have, but also off the court. We play cards at night. We, hang out at all of our meals. There's a pool here. So we've been sitting outside by the pool. And so it's nice to have that time with one another to build that relationship off the court so that it translates on.
We're chatting with Kia Nurse. Kia's over with her teammates in Spain. They had a tune-up game today. They got past Australia. They'll play Spain tomorrow before heading to Paris. I'm always curious about the village, the lifestyle in the village. How difficult is it to just try to live a normal lifestyle? Is it impossible? Like, take us inside the village. You've done it before. 2 different experiences, obviously, like Gord said, one in Brazil, one in Tokyo. I'm sure you mentioned the young players that are coming. They're like, what are we walking into here? Give us a behind-the-scenes look of daily life in the village at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's busy. Like I said, so we have a bit of a satellite village, so it's only men's and women's basketball. And so there's still a lot of people moving around and a lot of different moving pieces. But when you're typically in the village, you have the ability to go to the meal room whenever you want, 24/7, but you have no access to the food that you're actually cooking. So for me, I like to cook my homemade pregame meal. So I'm kind of relying on other people's food, which is a little weird. You can't really control what other people are doing in their training environment. So if you have a noisy neighbor, it might be kind of frustrating for you if you take a nap at a specific time or you're trying to go to sleep at a specific time. This year, I think there's a little bit of differences in terms of the rooming situation. Some people have their own individual rooms, which is nice. Typically, you have a roommate and you're kind of in an apartment style room with, 4 or 5, maybe 6 different people. So you go back to living with people again, which oftentimes is pretty difficult too. And so you got to get on each other's routines, right? And understand what it is that each person needs in order for them to perform at their best. And it's a lot of walking. You got to go from the front of the village through the security systems. I think they said for us, it's a 1/4 mile walk to the village where we actually live. And then the meal room's on the other side. So there's, you get your exercise. It's kind of recovery a lot. But one of my favorite parts of the village when we were there, and it was all the athletes and we weren't in a satellite village, was seeing other athletes prepare. Like the race walkers are so intriguing to me, and I'd watch them and I'm like, oh, I'd love to get into this.
I'd be so frustrated. I couldn't do it. I'd just start running. Like, how could you ever race walk the whole way without saying, screw it, I'm running. I can't do this anymore. I don't think I could do it, Kia. I really don't. Well, listen, we're pulling for you. Obviously, your whole team, the whole country. It's such an incredible event. Congrats on the win today. Good luck tomorrow. Safe travels up to Paris, and we'll catch you when you come home. Good luck over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's Kia Nurse, Team Canada, and TSN basketball analyst as well. We got to point that out.
Very good one at that.
One of the things they don't talk about much with the Athletes Village, a couple things, is so say a team wins a big game, and they come back to the village at night, and now they're ripping it up. If it's a soccer game or they got a couple days off, right? Like they're ripping it up and celebrating, and everyone else is trying to sleep because they got an early thing the next day. The other thing is you got to leave. When your sport's over, you have 2 days to go. So
yeah, but those 2 days, you are flooring it.
Yeah,
for
2 days could be a long time.
Oh man, you're having a time.
So the two backbone sports of the Summer Olympics are swimming the first week and athletics, track and field, the second week. But the swimmers have to be out. The last swing event, I think, is on Sunday, and they've got to be out by Monday because the track people are moving in.
Right.
And so for example, Penny Alexiuk in Rio flew home, I think, on the Monday, and then flew back down to be the flag bearer in the closing ceremony.
Right, because obviously she didn't know that she was going to be granted that honor.
Swimming was done, and she had to go home. So you either go to the opening ceremony or the closing ceremonies. You don't get to go to both.
Although the teams do, right? Like if you're a basketball player,
I think soccer starts tomorrow.
Yeah, like they've got to get a lot of games in, a lot of matches in the finals. It's just like the hockey teams. Like in the winter games, they're there right off the bat, generally speaking. Yeah. And they're obviously the last event usually played or real close to it.
And one of the issues for countries that want to host the Olympics is that the Summer Olympics are getting so large.
Right, they keep adding different events.
You're just adding so many
team events too.
Housing them all is becoming a challenge. So Kia talked about you're in an apartment style setting. Now the athletes' villages tend to be converted into apartments afterwards.
Right, which you would think
that
would
happened
have
in
always
Vancouver.
been a part of the plan.
Remember that?
Yeah, it happened in Vancouver. So that's kind of the idea that you build like the Pan Am housing here in Toronto. And so that's kind of the idea. But to build that much housing is a challenge for the organizers. Security in the housing is
security is very extreme
because you get nothing back of it.
Right. You also have a long time to prepare. Right. Like Paris knew that it was coming.
But
like
you need
20 years ago.
You need 8,000 metal detectors.
Yeah. I understand that, but you signed up for it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to sympathize for France or Paris if they don't have it figured out. You better know what you're getting into.
And that's why they create these Olympic parks, where they put 7 or 8 venues in one area with a secure perimeter. So
well, and sometimes they just waste away.
Dude, that's
we
the
went to Athens, man. I went to Athens in 2014.
Terrible.
We're driving around. They're like, nothing gets used anymore.
Rio. I mean, the pool is grown over.
Right.
Some of the soccer.
Well, they're
stadiums-
saying that about, I think it was in Qatar when they built all the stadiums for the World Cup. They're like, no one's going to be here.
No.
You think Taylor Swift's coming
Well,
in like 5 stadiums within 45
even then,
minutes?
the Olympic
Like,
Stadium.
it's not going to happen. Although she might actually do that.
And she'll sell them all out.
Sell out. Yeah, we're going down the street tomorrow for the next one.
Well, the Olympic
All right,
Stadium
we'll
in
see
London, right? The Olympic Stadium in London is finally now a soccer facility, but it took a long time to get it. I think West Ham plays there now. But like no one really wanted.
West Ham's gritty too, man. They shouldn't be in there.
What about the Big O in Montreal?
Well,
That's a big controversial topic because they're pumping all kinds of money into it, and it just sits there.
Yeah, it's
a big piece
completely
of concrete.
useless.
Stadium Australia. It's too big. Like turning the lights on costs too much. It seats 105,000 people. It's
Well, I think the story of the Big O though is it would cost more to get
Can't
rid of
possibly-
it.
Correct.
Can't
That's
possibly.
that's their
Can't
argument.
Can't possibly.
That's what they.
I
said.
agree with you. Over
It costs
time,
more.
it would make sense.
You're telling
to
me
get
that
rid
it
of
costs more to tear something. How hard is it? I mean,
It's
Well,
like
it might, in terms of an annual budget. Like
know what?
right now, it
You know
might,
what?
but down the road, that land is worth so
get
much.
200 McGill students, 50 cases of beer, some sledgehammers, and say, tear this thing down this weekend.
Old school. There you go.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The Big O is completely useless.
Well, and those,
Just sitting there, man.
and those
and it's not
Olympics-
downtown.
And they don't like it. It doesn't get concerts either because the acoustics in it
Horrible.
are so bad.
Right.
So it literally gets no use.
Yeah.
Nothing over there.
Yeah,
I was in Montreal, like we were doing games this year. And I remember when that announcement came down, even the people working at the hotel, we were asking them about it. They were like incensed about this. Because why wouldn't you be? What a waste of,
And I-
taxpayer
yeah,
money.
it's a massive piece of land.
I used to work on expo broadcasts. You know, you go down there and it'd be like 5,000 people in the state.
That was depressing at the end.
I mean, I went in '77 as a kid. I went to an expo game the year after the Olympics, and it was unbelievable. It was full, and it was, you know.
Well, they had the Expo in '67, right? And then the games in '76. So it was
But
like
those Olympics
You're
were the
humming
first,
there for a
were the
while.
first financial disaster. They were the first ones that were an absolute financial train wreck. But LA made money in '84.
when are we going to get one again? Like we had
Toronto?
88 in
Well,
Calgary. No, I'm not even saying in Toronto. I'm talking Canada in general. Like we had Vancouver in 2010.
So Calgary initially said they would host a Winter Olympics in 2030, but then they withdrew. Their city withdrew.
pumping their money into the flames.
And then Vancouver talked about it. They withdrew. There was actually a proposal for Canada to host the Winter Olympics in multiple places across the country.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense to
So
me.
like the skiing in Mont Tremblant, you know, the hockey in various cities. Now, as Kia talked about, she's in a satellite village at these Olympics because they're outside of Paris. Olympics like that would be all satellite. There would be no main athletes village. You know, where would the opening ceremony be? Where would the closing ceremonies be?
yeah, that complicates things.
Because if
But you could do like Toronto, Montreal. You know, like you could make sense of that.
sure, because the Montreal Olympics, like the rowing was in Kingston.
Sure. And then,
Yeah,
you know, the all the skiing and stuff is going to be
Yeah, because there's 2 villages at the Winter Olympics, right? So like Vancouver, Whistler, they're 2
Yeah,
hours,
exactly. There you
they're
go.
2 hours apart on a
Right.
good day in traffic. So,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can make that work.
Yeah, I mean, but that would be an interesting. The other one that would be interesting would be, you know, we saw this with Euro after COVID. It was hosted in a bunch of different European countries to spread it around. What if the Olympics were held across Europe?
At the same time,
Now France is going to get the 20. Hang on, 26 is so 2030 is going to be in France, and 2034 is going to be in Salt Lake City. Nice is going to be the host city for the where the speed skating, figure skating, all that's going to hockey is going to be in Nice, and then I think it's going to be not Chamonix, but further north is where the Alpine events are going to be. But it's going to be in the French Riviera
That's
in 20
pretty cool, though.
in 2030.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, ultimately, they always find somewhere to go. Like, they always find
Wow,
a
they're
way
running low though.
to get somewhere. Well,
They're running low
because there's places they'd rather not go to. But when in doubt, they're like, Russia would put their hand up happily.
Well, they're not going back there for
I understand. They will at some point, I guarantee
not
it.
in our lifetime.
Yes, they will. I guarantee.
Or maybe your
you
lifetime
they
and
will.
not mine.
I
You're younger than me.
guarantee you they will. They'll go back there because, like you said, they don't
Well,
have
it's,
spaces to
at
go
some
to.
point after Putin and everything's, if Russia comes back into the
China, like they go to China all the time because China's like,
Well,
we'll put our hands up if you want to come.
because they're one of the few countries that want to have it. And, one of
That's my point.
One of the issues was with the Winter Olympics is, Austria pulled out, Switzerland pulled out because in February, their ski resorts the last 2 years have had no snow.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're cutting the grass.
Yeah, that's a
February.
bit of a concern.
So that's been an issue. But
Yeah.
a lot of countries are, it'll be interesting to see what happens with it because France and the U.S. cut a deal the same way they cut a deal for the Summer Olympics. Instead of bidding against each other, Paris said, we'll go in 24, LA, you go 28. And the French said, okay, we'll go 2030, Salt Lake, you go 2034.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not bid against each other and spend millions of dollars on these campaigns. And
It's crazy to think about the U.S. Like they're going to have 2 different Olympics and the World Cup
yeah,
all within, 4 years? I guess 8 years. They're-
8, yeah.
like that's a pretty good run.
Well, NBC was promised, right? When NBC signed their extension with the Olympics.
Because that's a big part. Like NBC basically runs the whole schedule of the Olympic Games.
Yes.
More or less. And naturally, they want it in these time zones because when it's not, it's crushing.
Well, they tape delay everything into
They
prime
do
time.
prime time, and it does actually work pretty well for them down there. They do pretty good numbers.
Financially, the Olympics on NBC are an absolute home run. And I work there, so I know the people that run it. And
Well, American patriotism sells
but not just that.
very, very well.
But not just that, tape delaying at a prime time allows you to. Here's Frankie Corrado. This is his story. He's a mailman from Lansing, Michigan, and now he's competing in speed skating. And they tell you his story. They show you his race, interview him afterwards. Like it's not a sports broadcast. It's a reality show.
Yes, and it's all about
because
the
you-
Americans all the time.
You need more than sports fans to watch it.
Yes.
So
Which you get that up here as well.
That's the
I
thing with
think-
the Olympics. It's not sports fans. It's like, I want to watch the Olympics. I want
Yes.
to know the stories, and it's sports that you don't
So-
necessarily always see.
Well, and everyone can be included. Like
Yeah.
you don't like if you're watching shot put, there's no one like your buddy across the street doesn't know more that's going to make you feel stupid.
Right.
He might tell you he knows
He might
more, though.
try to tell
He
you
might
that
have
he
a
did
little
shot
betting
put.
angle,
I
too.
can
He's
tell
like, hey, I heard this guy from
Right.
Romania.
Or he used to do it when he was in high school and he's like, just trust me, I know what I'm talking
I
about.
can tell you this, though. The NBC guys think that we're nuts up here to show events live from overseas. Like Damian Warner winning the decathlon at 4 in the morning in Canada. They think that's
But
nuts.
yes, I
You hold
understand
it.
that in
You hold
19
it.
No, you can't though with social media
They do it.
anymore.
They do it.
No, I understand they do it.
And it works.
It works to an extent, but you can't control the news. Like
You
regardless
can
of
control the footage, though.
sure, but everyone woke up and knows he won.
Right. But now you want to see it.
Not to the same extent. Nowhere close to the same extent. It's like PVRing the Super Bowl. Yeah, I want to see it, but I can't avoid knowing what the score is going to
The
be.
difference is the
Like obviously they figured it out. I'm not. They have figured out how to roll that up, package it, produce it, and pump it out. And obviously they do great numbers. They invest a ton in it. They make a fortune, and they sell stories. And they get It's all American
because they have so many
patriotism.
American. They have so many great American.
And they win so much.
They win, exactly.
It's so easy for them to
And I'm not
promote.
saying
You
it's-
got to see it because they win so much.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying there's two different philosophies. Like I called track and field in 2012 in London. More people watch Bolt in the 100 meters on the prime time repeat than they did live at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That was at NBC. You
No,
said,
no.
or in
with
Canada.
with the Canadian Olympic Consortium.
Well, the other thing,
with
like,
CTV.
if you're
yeah.
sitting around in the summer and you're at home and you're trying to watch TV, have you seen that channel guide, that TV guide? There's nothing on right now.
Mhm.
So you throw, competitive sports, Olympics on, even if you know the result, I think you're still watching because it's better than
Sure.
watching reruns of Friends or The Office for the 14th time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
valid.
it's something exciting at least that's on your TV.
And you know what? If you said in Canada, hey, we're gonna do the Olympics like NBC does, we're not gonna show them live during the day anymore, people would go nuts up here. Because we're used to it being a certain way.
Well, and in Paris,
people complain-
they're what are they, 6 hours ahead?
yeah.
Like, it's not that extensive.
But people complain to NBC all the time. But the numbers tell the story. Like they win prime time every night.
Right. And, I mean, maybe they'd win it anyway if they just played it live and then replayed it.
But their point is if you show it live at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it takes away some of the audience for your primetime show. That's
Like, you're trying to build up a focused audience. That's what they were trying to do.
they
Come
wanna say to
see
you-
Bob Costas.
And they want to say to you, you buy your ad.
Yes.
It's not going to be diluted over the day.
It's going to be playing at this point.
And your ad's going to be seen by 18 million people at 9 o'clock Eastern.
Right, which is very smart for business. And again, I understood it historically, and I'm not saying there isn't still value. I'm just saying I think it's more difficult now with the ability of social media where everyone is linked in. And the generally speaking, the world is going the complete opposite way.
Yeah.
Not, I'm going to sit and wait for you to tell me when I can do something. I will do it when I want to.
But nothing's more tightly controlled than Olympic video.
Right, because the IOC demands of it.
And NBC demands it. The national rights holders demand it. Like it is so. Like, if you see footage of an Olympic event pop up on social media,
It's gone.
It's gone in
immediately. Yes. Yeah, no, that's valid, but that the information is out there. Like there are reporters saying, "I'm watching this happen, and this is what took place." Now, not everyone's on social media. Not everyone's going to see it.
And everyone has time.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people work during the day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I remember saying to a buddy of mine who worked as a stockbroker, I'm like, "Hey, did you watch the trade deadline today?" He says, "You know, in our office, we don't really encourage people to watch TV during the day. It's kind of a thing with us."
Yeah. It's kind of something that we try to avoid.
Yeah.
All right, Mark Feinsand coming up. Jays Rays tonight. We're a week away from the trade deadline. What does he see happening here with Bo Bichette, Vladdy, the front office up here in Toronto, among other stories around Major League Baseball? So Mark will join us. Ryan O'Reilly coming up as well. Confirm or deny later in the afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Jays Rays tonight. Mark Feinsand will join us in about 15 minutes. We're a week away from the trade deadline. And, you know, Bo Bichette on the IL, but there's been reports out there that Bo would be open to the idea of a trade.
And
Which, if that's the case, does that mean he's not open to the idea of signing an extension in the offseason?
I think it
like, is that
depends.
kind of the answer that
I think it would
we're
depend.
being given at this point?
What's the price tag look like? You know what I mean? Like, I think players tend to say that type of stuff, but if you throw enough money at them, all of a sudden staying doesn't sound so bad because you're going to pay me maybe a little bit more than I'm going to get somewhere else out there. Or maybe I don't want to test that, or I don't know. Like, I don't want that stress.
Right.
Of putting myself out there. I'll take the security.
If he has another down year next year, what's he getting paid?
Right. And that's what the money's going to follow me. Look at Jonathan Huberdeau. Got $10.5 million every year. You know what I mean? Like, you take the bag and then you worry about the rest later.
And
Figure out everything else.
And by the way, injured players can be traded in baseball with the permission of the commissioner.
You got to ask the commissioner.
That's got to go through him. He's practicing his backswing, and you got to ask
he's
him.
working on a short game.
Well, because you don't want to have a situation where, right, a guy's coming off an injury or you say, "Oh, he's fine." Like, so if the guy's on the injured reserve, he can be traded, the injured list, he can be traded with the commissioner's permission, apparently.
Well, I don't think Bo's getting dealt, but again, the idea, if this report is accurate, that he'd be open to a change of scenery, is he basically telling the Blue Jays anyway, I have a year left, you want to keep me, you can keep me, I'll play it out, and then I'm intending on leaving? Like, you make a good point, Frankie. If they go to him and say, we'll blow your doors off with an offer, then I'm sure that scenery discussion probably comes to an end. But I don't see how the Jays can do that right now because of the way he's played the last year and because of what they're planning on doing in the future. Like this, if they bring this front office back, I have to believe, could be wrong, have to believe it's like you have 1 year to show us that something is going to be different here. And they'd probably be banking on Bichette to be a part of that to help them get out of this. But if you're going to maybe move off Shapiro or move off Atkins a year from now and possibly finally get to a point, like if they have another down year next year, realize this is just not good enough, we have to completely reset, then I don't think Bo would be a part of the program in the future anyway.
Let me ask you this. Who's taking a bigger risk? Bichette by playing it out or the Jays giving a long-term extension? Like, what's the bigger risk?
Ooh, that's a good question. It would depend on what the money is we're talking about. Like if you're talking a 10-year, $250 million deal,
you're talking
I think it's a bigger risk for the Blue Jays right now.
What's his risk playing it out is significant too. Like as you point out, another down year. Now,
Another down year,
you
you're
only
in
need
trouble.
one. You only need one team to come out there and sign a check.
Right, but you put together two bad seasons.
And it's been more than that. It goes back to last year, the end of last year.
End of last year, it wasn't great for Bo. And this year in particular, I'm not sure he'll play again this year, which means his numbers are really going to be a blemish on his resume and his career stats. I have a lot of faith that he'll be better next year if he's 100% healthy. He's a better player than this. Like, he's an established major leaguer. He's in his mid-20s. Like, this
is more than established.
He's more than established. Like, I think Manoah has given us some scar tissue. Like, the fact that Manoah could do what he did and then completely fall off a cliff, that's a rarity in sports.
Especially
like, to
baseball.
that extent.
Especially baseball.
Yeah, but yes.
It's rare for a guy
maybe
in
more
baseball
so
to
over
fall.
baseball.
Yeah.
But not injury related, just he like forgot how to play. And there obviously injuries were scattered in there. And I think Bichette would probably claim he's been banged up all year. And I think there's accuracy to that. Maybe that's having an effect on his stats. But yes, you might fade a little bit. You might come back to earth a little bit. Falling off a cliff to the point where you can't play is a different story.
Yeah. You just know the way it is, though, with players, right? They're not having a great year. The narrative is love it here, want to be here, don't want to be anywhere else. They have a really, really good year. It's like, yeah, we're going to talk.
Let's
see
negotiate.
What the options are.
Yeah,
right?
I got
Like,
leverage.
Yeah, exactly.
I got leverage.
It
right?
all depends on what kind of year you're having and how you feel about
I
your
love
game.
this game. Oh, it's a business.
Yeah, exactly.
One or the other. It's
Yeah.
basically the way you're playing at that given time. All right, Mark Feinsand coming up, Ryan O'Reilly coming up as well. Dean Evison, the new head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, will join us into the 6 p.m. hour. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.